The Vraxians ruled the central sectors of the Milky Way for over 10,000 years. They stood 3 meters tall with hard outer shells that could stop most weapons. Their bodies were covered in natural armor plates colored deep purple and black. Sharp claws extended from their forearms, and their mouths held 3 rows of teeth. Their eyes glowed yellow in the dark, helping them hunt. Most scary of all, their brains lacked the parts needed to feel fear. This made them perfect hunters who never backed down from any fight. For centuries, they attacked and took over hundreds of worlds. They killed or enslaved anyone who stood against them. The rest of the galaxy learned to hide when Vraxian ships appeared in the sky. Some planets sent gifts and slaves just to avoid being noticed by the great hunters. Captain Alan Russell wiped sweat from his forehead as he studied the star map in his private quarters aboard the ESS Horizon. The small research vessel carried only 80 crew members, all scientists and support staff. Their mission seemed simple when they left Earth 2 months ago: find a good spot for a research station at the edge of mapped space. "Captain, you need to see this." The voice of his first officer, Lisa Brown, came through the speaker on his wall. 5 minutes later, Russell stood on the bridge looking at strange energy readings on the main screen. "What am I looking at?" he asked, his blue eyes narrowed. Lisa pointed to the flashing dots. "Energy weapons fire, sir. Lots of it, coming from the Talus system just half a light year from here." Russell rubbed his chin. Earth had only been traveling between stars for 20 years. In that time, they had met only 3 alien species, all friendly traders. They knew other beings were out there but had avoided trouble so far. "Our orders say to avoid unknown conflicts," he said. Lisa nodded but then added, "Sir, we're picking up distress calls. Someone's asking for help." Russell looked around the bridge at his crew. They weren't soldiers. The Horizon carried only basic defense weapons. But he couldn't ignore a cry for help. "Plot a course. Maximum speed. But we stay at the edge of the system to observe first," he ordered. 3 hours later, the Horizon dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Talus system. What they saw shocked everyone on the bridge. A massive ship, shaped like a curved hunting blade, fired purple beams at small escape pods fleeing from a burning space station. The station orbited a green and blue planet. "Those are civilians," said Lisa, checking the scanner. "The ones in the escape pods, they're called Nilari according to our database, peaceful farmers and traders." Russell watched as another pod exploded, tiny bodies floating out into space. His hands tightened into fists. "Scan the attacking ship. Who are they?" he asked. The science officer, Ben Carter, worked his console with shaking hands. "No match in our database, Captain. But they're broadcasting some kind of hunting songs. They seem to be celebrating each kill." Russell had seen enough. "Move us between that ship and the remaining escape pods." "Sir?" Lisa looked shocked. "Our shields won't last 10 seconds against weapons like that. Then we better be convincing. Open a channel to the alien ship." The view screen flickered and Russell found himself looking at a nightmare. The alien commander had 4 arms crossed over a chest covered in metal-like trophies made from bones. Its yellow eyes seemed to glow with hunger. "This is Captain Allen, Russell of Earth. We demand you stop attacking these civilians immediately." Russell kept his voice firm despite the fear building in his chest. The alien tilted its head, showing interest for the first time. When it spoke, the ship's computer translated. "I am Hunt Commander Krail of the Vraxian Empire. You have interrupted my hunt, little creature. Move aside or be destroyed with the rest of the prey." Russell glanced at Lisa, who shook her head slightly. Their scan showed the Vraxian ship carried enough firepower to destroy a small moon. "These people are under our protection now," Russell said, thinking fast. "Earth has many ships in this sector. If you harm us, they will come for you." It was a complete lie. The Horizon was alone, millions of miles from any help. But Russell remembered something from history class. Predators often avoided prey that might hurt them, even if they could win the fight. Crawl made a sound like rocks grinding together. A laugh. "You lie poorly, human. I sense no other ships. But your bravery interests me. I will give you one chance to prove humans are worth hunting. Defend yourselves." The screen went dark. "They're powering weapons," Ben shouted. "Evasive maneuvers," Russell ordered. "Get those escape pods behind us." What followed should have been a quick death for the Horizon and its crew. But something strange happened instead. The Vraxian ship fired a direct hit, only to see its energy beam split and flow around the human vessel. Unknown to both sides, the Horizon's basic shields operated on a frequency the Vraxians had never encountered before. "Shields holding at 60%, called out the defensive systems officer, Samantha Wells. She looked as surprised as everyone else. "Their weapons are powerful, but our shields are absorbing some of the energy." Russell saw their chance. "Sam, can you analyze their shield pattern?" Samantha's fingers flew over her console. "Yes, they have gaps at regular intervals, like they never needed perfect coverage before. Target those gaps, fire everything we've got." The Horizon wasn't a warship, but its small point defense lasers found the weak spots in the Vraxian shields. Alarms blared on the enemy ship as, for the first time in centuries, a Vraxian hunter took damage from what they considered lesser beings. Kral roared in surprise as his bridge filled with smoke from a damaged console. This wasn't possible. These soft, small creatures in their tiny ship were hurting his vessel, a ship that had destroyed entire defense fleets. For 20 minutes, the battle raged. The Horizon took heavy damage, but kept fighting. Russell ordered maneuvers no sane captain would try, spinning the research vessel through gaps in the Vraxian firing pattern. "Their weapons are designed to hit targets that run away in straight lines," Russell realized aloud. "They've never fought anyone who didn't flee." Finally, with the Horizon's engines failing and life support damaged, Russell ordered a desperate move. "Ram them," he commanded. The crew stared in shock. "Not to crash," he explained quickly. "Just close enough that they can't use their main weapons without hitting themselves." It worked. As the Horizon closed to point-blank range, the Vraxian ship had to stop firing its most powerful weapons. This gave the human ship just enough time to gather the remaining Nilari escape pods and limp away, using the planet to block pursuit. Kral could have followed and finished them off. But for the first time in his 300-year life, he hesitated. These humans didn't make sense. They fought when they should run. They protected strangers at risk to themselves. They used tactics no prey species had ever shown before. As the Horizon disappeared into faster-than-light travel with the rescued Nilari, news spread quickly across subspace communications. A small human ship had fought a Vraxian hunter and escaped. The Nilari survivors told everyone about the humans who risked everything to save them. Kral returned to Vraxian space with the strange taste of uncertainty in his mouth. He had found something new, a species that didn't act like prey even when outmatched, a species that studied its predator and fought back. For the first time in thousands of years, the galaxy's apex predators had something to think about. 6 months passed since the Horizon limped back to Earth space. Captain Alan Russell still had nightmares about yellow eyes and ships shaped like hunting knives. The burns on his arm had healed, but the memory of those who didn't make it back stayed with him. Today he stood in the Great Hall of the United Planetary Alliance on Earth. Leaders from all 27 human colonies filled the room. The mood was tense. Screens around the hall showed images of the Vraxians and the damage they had done to the Horizon. Admiral Veronica Garcia walked to the center of the room. At 62, she had led Earth's small fleet for 15 years. Her gray hair was cut, short, and her uniform showed medals from the Mars conflict. She tapped her tablet, and a huge map of the galaxy appeared above everyone's heads. "The Vraxians control all these red areas," she said, pointing to a large section of the map. "According to the Nilari we rescued, they have attacked and taken over 87 known species in this part of space alone." Worried voices filled the room. Earth had only been traveling in space for a short time. They had just 20 warships and most were small patrol vessels. "Can we avoid them? Stay out of their territory?" asked Governor Paul Martinez of the Neptune. Colonied Admiral Garcia shook her head. "They're expanding, and now they know about us." She nodded to a tall, thin man standing near the wall. "Dr. Kyle Bennett has studied the Vraxians using information from the Horizon and the Nilari survivors. Doctor? Dr. Bennett stepped forward. His hands shook slightly as he brought up images of Vraxian biology on the big screen. The Vraxians are perfect predators, he explained. Their bodies are stronger than ours. Their natural armor can stop most weapons. They live for about 500 years. He pointed to an image of a Vraxian brain. Most importantly, this part of their brain is missing. It's the part that creates fear. They simply do not know how to be afraid. How do we fight something that isn't afraid to die? Someone called out. Dr. Bennett smiled for the first time. That's their weakness. They've never needed to develop better tactics or technology. Why would they? They've been winning easily for thousands of years. They fight the same way they always have because it always worked before. Captain Russell stood up. His dress uniform felt tight around his neck, but he needed to speak. When we fought them, they were confused by our moves, he said. They expected us to run away in a straight line like scared animals. When we didn't, their targeting systems couldn't keep up. Admiral Garcia nodded. We can't win a direct war. They have too many ships, too many warriors. But we can be smarter. We can use their own nature against them. The UPA president, Olivia Kent, stood up. What do you suggest, Admiral? We make friends, Garcia said simply. The Vraxians have made many enemies. Those enemies have technologies we need. We offer protection in exchange for knowledge. Not everyone liked this plan. Some wanted to hide. Others wanted to build bigger weapons and fight back directly. But in the end, President Kent approved Admiral Garcia's plan. 1 month later, Ambassador Frank Morales left Earth with 5 ships. Captain Russell, now promoted to commander, led the small fleet. Their mission? Find allies among the species hurt by the Vraxians. The Nilari were their first stop. The green-skinned aliens had lost 3 colony worlds to Vraxian attacks. They were farmers and traders, not fighters, but they had faster-than-light drives that were twice as good as human ones. Why would you help us? Asked the Nilari leader, Elder Ziv. His large eyes blinked rapidly as he looked at the humans. You barely escaped your first meeting with the hunters. Because that's what humans do, Russell explained. We protect each other. On Earth long ago, we were both predator and prey. We had to learn to work together to survive. The Nilari joined the alliance. In exchange for protection, they taught humans how to improve their ship engines. Next came the Krev, insect-like beings who lived in huge hive cities. The Vraxians had taken 5 of their worlds, seeing the Krev as nothing more than clever bugs. The Krev had shield technology that could bend energy around ships. Your ships are small, buzzed the Krev queen from her throne of golden material. Your weapons are weak, but your tactics interest us. The Vraxians have never changed their hunting methods in 1,000 years. The Krev joined too. Soon after, the crystalline Zinther added their knowledge of energy weapons. The massive rock-like Brel shared their armor technology. 20 different species joined in the first 3 months, each bringing new knowledge. Meanwhile, the best military minds on Earth studied everything they could learn about how Vraxians fought. Commander Russell worked with tacticians day and night. They don't use formations, he noted, showing videos from the Horizons battle. Each ship fights alone, trying to get the glory of the kill. They don't work together. Like lone hunters, agreed General Ellen Rivers. Not pack hunters. Exactly. Russell pounded the table with excitement. And that's our advantage. Humans have always been pack hunters. We take down bigger, stronger animals by working together. On the Vraxian homeworld, the news of these developments caused concern. The High Command met in their ancient hunting lodge, a building made from the bones of the first species they had conquered. High Hunter Gorvin, the leader of all Vraxian forces, dismissed the reports. He was old even by Vraxian standards, his armor plates cracked and repaired many times. Let these humans gather all the prey together, he growled. It will save us the trouble of hunting them one by one. But Commander Kral, who had fought the Horizon, wasn't so sure. The scars on his face from that battle still burned sometimes. They learned too quickly, he warned. In one battle, they found weaknesses in our shields that no one has seen in centuries, and they value things beyond personal glory. Weakness, spat Gorvin. Perhaps, said Krell, but it makes them fight harder, not weaker. Gorvin ended the discussion by ordering a major attack on the Krev homeworld. The plan was simple: crush the insects and show everyone what happens to those who join the humans. 3 days later, 50 Vraxian ships attacked the Krev homeworld. They expected easy hunting. Instead, they found something new. Human ships fought beside Krev vessels, using tactics the Vraxians had never seen. The humans had taught their allies to fight in formations, covering each other's weaknesses. Nalari, transport ships moved faster than Vraxian sensors could track, dropping Zinthar crystal bombs that stuck to Vraxian hulls and drained their power. Most shocking of all, the defenders didn't try to run. They stood their ground, protecting each other with a coordination the Vraxians couldn't understand. After 6 hours of battle, the impossible happened. The Vraxian fleet turned and left, having lost 12 ships while destroying only 5 enemy vessels on his command ship. Gorvin raged at his captains. You let prey defeat you. You bring shame to the hunt. But the truth was clear to everyone. For the first time in memory, the great predators had met something they couldn't simply overwhelm with force. Back on the Krev homeworld, Commander Russell stood with his new allies as they counted their losses and celebrated their victory. A Krev general approached him, her wing cases clicking with excitement. The hunters ran from us, they ran! Russell nodded, but his face remained serious. They'll be back, and they'll be angry. This was just the beginning. The news spread across the galaxy faster than any ship could travel. Species that had hidden from the Vraxians for generations began to reach out to the humans. The alliance grew stronger each day. A new power was rising in the galaxy, not one based on fear or hunting skill, but on something the Vraxians could never understand: cooperation. News of the defeat at the Krev homeworld spread through Vraxian space like wildfire. Nothing like this had happened in their recorded history. Vraxian ships returned home damaged. Vraxian warriors spoke of enemies who fought together in strange patterns. Worst of all, they spoke of humans. Small, soft creatures who somehow coordinated it all. High Hunter Gorvin faced an angry council in the Great Bone Hall on the Vraxian homeworld. The hall was built from the remains of their ancestors and the first species they had conquered. Normally a place of pride, today it felt cold and unfriendly. You promised an easy hunt, shouted one council member, slamming all 4 fists on the bone table. Instead, our ships return broken and our hunters return shamed. Gorvan bared his triple rows of teeth. One battle means nothing. We will gather more ships and crush these insects and their human allies. But the council had lost faith. After a short debate, they removed Gorvin from his position. In his place, they promoted Commander Krall to War Master, the highest military rank. Krall stood before the assembled Vraxian captains the next day. The scars on his face from his battle with the Horizon had become a strange mark of respect. He was the first to face these humans and survived to tell about it. We face an enemy unlike any before, Krall told the gathered hunters. His voice was low and serious. They do not fight for personal glory as we do. They fight as groups, covering each other's weaknesses. He showed videos from the battle at the Krev homeworld. Vraxian captains watched with yellow eyes wide as human. Ships moved in formations, drawing Vraxian fire while others attacked from behind. Most strange of all, Krall continued, they fight hardest not when they themselves are in danger, but when protecting others. This makes no sense to us, but we must understand it if we are to defeat them. For the first time in thousands of years, the Vraxians began to change their tactics. Krall ordered hunting parties to work together instead of competing for kills. He established training sessions where ships practiced coordinated attacks. Many Vraxians resisted these changes. Fighting together seemed wrong to them against their nature as lone hunters. But Krall pushed harder. Adapt or die, he told them. The humans already have. Meanwhile, the alliance of species opposing the Vraxians grew stronger each day. 37 different alien civilizations had now joined what they called the Mutual Defense Pact. Earth served as the central meeting place, with representatives from each species working together. The aquatic Mirren, who lived in water-filled environments, provided bioorganic ship components that could repair themselves during battle. The Vel, who had hidden from the Vraxians for centuries, emerged from hiding to offer their cloaking technology that made ships invisible to sensors. Commander Russell worked with scientists from all these species to develop better defenses. But his most important partner was Lieutenant Olivia Nash, a brilliant tactical analyst who had studied animal behavior on Earth. The Vraxians hunt like tigers, she explained during a strategy meeting. Lone predators who rely on strength and surprise. But humans evolved as pack hunters like wolves. She showed the gathered aliens videos of wolves hunting larger animals by working together. This is how our ancestors hunted mammoths, creatures much larger and stronger than themselves. And this is how we'll defeat the Vraxians. Nash developed what she called pack tactics, combat strategies designed specifically to counter the Vraxian hunting approach. The central idea was simple. Never let a Vraxian ship fight one-on-one. Always attack with multiple ships working together. The Vraxians have always hunted each species separately, Nash explained. They've never faced a coordinated multi-species response. Human unpredictability combined with the specialized abilities of the other species created defense systems the Vraxians couldn't easily counter. Krev ships with their advanced shields protected Nilari fast attack vessels. Zinthar crystal ships disrupted Vraxian communications. Human ships coordinated it all with tactics that seemed chaotic, but were actually carefully planned. 3 months after the battle at the Krev homeworld, Alliance sensors detected a massive gathering of Vraxian ships. Hundreds of vessels were forming what they called their Grand Fleet, the largest hunting party in their history. They're planning to attack multiple Alliance worlds at once, Commander Russell told the Alliance leadership. They want to break us apart, force us to defend our separate homeworlds. Then we give them what they want, said Nash with a smile. Or at least what they think they want. The Alliance set a trap. They made it appear that their forces were scattered, defending individual worlds. In fact, they had hidden their main fleet in the dust clouds of an uninhabited system, right in the path of the Vraxian advance. When the Vraxian Grand Fleet arrived at what they thought was a weakly defended Mirren colony, they found only a small group of ships that immediately fled. The Vraxians gave chase, following their instincts, as hunters. They didn't realize they were being led directly into the Alliance's trap. The battle that followed lasted 3 days. It began when 500 Alliance ships emerged from the dust cloud and surrounded the front half of the Vraxian fleet. The Vraxians found themselves caught between attacking forces and a massive gravity well from a nearby gas giant. War Master Krall recognized the trap too late. His ships tried to fight as coordinated units as he had trained them, but centuries of hunting alone couldn't be unlearned in a few months. Vraxian captains broke formation to chase targets that seemed vulnerable, only to be surrounded and destroyed. Stay together, Krall ordered over the communication system. Fight as one force. But his hunters couldn't change their nature. One by one, Vraxian ships were isolated and overcome by groups of 3 or 4 Alliance vessels, working in perfect coordination. Captain Patricia Dawson, of the ESS Interceptor, led a daring attack on Krall's command ship. Her vessel was small and fast, designed for scouting missions. But she had modified it with Mirren bioorganic armor that could absorb energy from Vraxian weapons. Their flagship's shield pattern changes every 40 seconds, she told her crew. We need to hit them during the change. The Interceptor dove straight at the massive Vraxian command ship, firing precisely as its shields reset. The timing was perfect. The Interceptor's weapons struck the ship's main power system, disabling its engines and weapons. Within minutes, Alliance boarding teams cut through the hull of Krall's ship. For the first time, humans and Vraxians faced each other in direct combat. The Vraxians were stronger and had natural armor, but the humans fought in teams, protecting each other and using the ship's corridors to their advantage. War Master Krall himself fought to the end, killing 3 Alliance soldiers before being stunned by concentrated fire from human weapons. When he woke up, he found himself in a cell aboard Commander Russell's flagship, the ESS Defiance. The cell was comfortable, with a bed sized for his large frame and food from his homeworld. Russell came to see the prisoner. The two leaders faced each other across a clear barrier, predator and former prey. "How many ships did we lose?" Krall asked. "Half the Grand Fleet was destroyed or captured," Russell answered honestly. "The rest retreated." Krall nodded slowly. In all Varaxian history, no one had ever inflicted such a defeat on them. "I have a question for you, human," Krall said after a long silence. "How does it feel to fear, yet fight regardless?" Russell thought carefully before answering. "Fear isn't our weakness, it's the reason we fight so hard. We know what it's like to be prey, which is why we won't let others suffer the same fate." Krall didn't speak again that day, but in his cell he began writing. His notes would become the foundation for a complete change in Varaxian society, one that would reshape the galaxy in ways no one could have predicted. 1 year after the defeat of the Varaxian Grand Fleet, representatives from over 100 alien species gathered at a special meeting place. They chose a large space station built in orbit around an empty planet at the edge of what used to be Varaxian space. No one owned this world, so it belonged to everyone. The station looked like a giant wheel spinning slowly in space. Its main meeting hall had seats for all kinds of beings, water tanks for the fish like Mirren, crystal platforms for the Zinthar, and normal chairs for humans and other similar species. This was the first Galactic Concord Summit, a gathering to decide how different species would live together now that the Varaxians no longer ruled through fear. Most surprising to many was the presence of Varaxian representatives. They weren't there as conquerors, but as equals. Their group was led by Elder Zyvex, an older female Varaxian who had pushed for peace after their defeat. Her armor plates were painted with symbols of stars and planets instead of battle trophies. Ambassador Daniel Ward represented Earth. He was a tall man with dark skin and a calm voice that carried well in the large room. When it was his turn to speak, he stood at the center of the great hall where everyone could see him. "We came late to this gathering of stars," he began. "Humans have traveled in space for less than 30 years, but we brought with us something from our own history on Earth. Through millions of years, we evolved as both hunters and hunted. We know how to be strong, but we also know how to be afraid. This gave us a special understanding." He looked around, at the gathered aliens, making eye contact with as many as possible. "What we learned on Earth is simple. Working together often helps everyone survive better than fighting alone. The Varaxians were the perfect predators, but perfect predators are specialists, and specialists are vulnerable to change." Elder Zyvex spoke next. She moved slowly to the center, her yellow eyes less bright than younger Varaxians. "For 10,000 years my people knew only the way of the hunt," she said. Her voice was deeper than human voices. "We saw other species as either prey or competitors. We never understood what humans call cooperation." She held up one of her 4 hands, showing a small earth plant growing in a pot. "Humans gave me this. It is called a bonsai tree. It must be carefully tended. It cannot live on its own. I have learned that there is strength in needing others, not just weakness as we always believed." Over the next week, the representatives worked together to create new rules for how species would treat each other. The Nalari, who had suffered greatly under Varaxian attacks, suggested that young species just starting to explore space should be protected and left alone to develop on their own. Everyone agreed to create protected development zones, where new civilizations could grow without interference. The Krev proposed sharing technology between all species to prevent any one group from becoming too powerful. Some species worried about giving away their secrets, but most agreed that sharing knowledge would help everyone. Most surprising was when the Varaxians themselves offered the Predator Limitation Covenant. This agreement said that no species could use force except to defend themselves. The Varaxians also promised to help rebuild the worlds they had damaged and return things they had taken from conquered planets. Commander Russell, now Admiral Russell, watched all this from his seat in the human section. He felt proud of what had been accomplished, but new challenges remained. Not all Varaxians accepted the new way of living. A group led by Hunt Lord Vrek had broken away from Elder Zyvex's leadership. They took 20 ships and disappeared into unexplored space, vowing to continue hunting as their ancestors had. They won't change, Zvex told Russell during a break in the meetings. Some of us cannot imagine life without the hunt. Will they attack again? Russell asked. Eventually. It is their nature. 3 months after the Concord was signed, Hunt Lord Rex ships attacked a human colony on Proxima IV. The small farming settlement had few defenses. The Vraxian rebels expected an easy hunt and the glory of killing humans. Instead, they encountered something unexpected: mercy with strength. Alliance ships responded quickly to the attack. They drove off the Vraxian rebels without destroying them. When Rex-damaged ships limped away, they weren't chased and finished off as Vraxians would have done. This confused the traditionalist Vraxians. They expected either weakness or complete destruction. The idea that their enemies would let them escape while still having the power to destroy them made no sense. Why didn't you kill them all? Zvex asked Russell when she heard about the battle. Because we don't need to, Russell explained. We want compliance, not extinction. Your people have much to offer the galaxy if you can change. At the Earth University in New Washington, Dr. Eric Salazar taught the first class of alien students about human history. The room held beings from 20 different worlds, including 3 young Vraxians who sat in specially built chairs. The Vraxians never developed complex social rules because they never needed them, Dr. Salazar explained. As apex predators, they evolved to be strong individuals. Humans, however, evolved as both predator and prey. We hunted other animals, but larger predators also hunted us. This middle position forced us to develop cooperation, empathy, and complex social groups. A young Vraxian raised one of his hands. But this makes you weaker than us as individuals. Yes, agreed Salazar. A single human could never defeat a single Vraxian in a fair fight. But humans are never alone. That's our strength. 5 years passed. The galaxy changed more in those 5 years than in the previous 1,000. Alliance ships now patrolled former Vraxian hunting grounds, protecting developing worlds from harm. Scientists from 100 species worked together, sharing discoveries and solving problems that had stumped them for centuries. On the anniversary of the Battle of Krev, now celebrated as Concord Day across many worlds, Admiral Russell sat in his office at Earth Fleet Headquarters. He had retired from active space duty and now taught strategy to new officers. His assistant buzzed the intercom. "Sir, you have a visitor, a Vraxian." Russell was surprised to see Kral enter his office. The former War Master looked older, with more scars and armor plates that had dulled with age. He no longer wore the symbols of a hunter, but instead had the mark of a Vraxian teacher on his chest. "I did not expect to see you again," Russell said, standing to greet his former enemy. "I have been studying your people," Kral said. "Working with the Cultural Exchange Program." He placed a ceremonial knife on Russell's desk. It was made from a Vraxian armor plate, polished until it gleamed. "In the old traditions," Kral explained, "this would be given to a superior hunter out of respect." Russell accepted the blade but went to his shelf and took down a small object. He handed Kral a simple Earth compass, its needle pointing steadily north. "Where I come from," Russell said, "we give these to help someone find their way when they're exploring new territory." The 2 former enemies, predator and prey, now stood as equals. Their meeting was recorded and shared throughout Concord space as a symbol of how much had changed. In his quarters that night, Kral studied the strange human device. The needle always pointed the same way, no matter how he turned the compass. He found this oddly comforting, the idea that in an uncertain galaxy some things remained constant and could guide one home. The species that had evolved without fear had finally encountered something more powerful than terror: hope for a better future built together.